Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Hugh Capital Podcast with yours truly, Jaleesa Juju Fontaine. Once again, I say this every single time, and I know you guys get annoyed, but I have to remind you I feel like I just get the most quality people to introduce you all to. Like, nobody who comes on this podcast is whack, and no one who comes on this podcast give whack answers. You get me? And if you've been feeling that way, about all of my prior episodes, you're really gonna feel that way for this episode. Like, I have with me today, everybody, Markuann Smith. Honestly, I have to just kind of give a little shout out to Angelique's party at 4040 Club, because if it wasn't for that event, we would not be here today. And even more of a shout out, my big sis, Anthea, Nurse Noel, for making that introduction. And now we're here. All right, now we're here. Now, before we get into any questions, I have to brag about the person that I'm interviewing. So bear with me. This person has done a lot. So I have a laundry list for you all. Yeah, you're good? You're good? All right, let's do it. So once again, today I have Markuann Smith with me. He grew up in Harlem, then moved to Far Rock. So you already know, New York City family, New York City legend. Once again, you cannot question New York people's hustle. We're just it. But anyway, I'll stop there. Anywho, he's an actor. He's also the creator and executive producer for what show? Matter of fact, I usually say this, but Markuann, what show are you the creator of?
A show called The Godfather of Harlem.
See, this is why I shouldn't have let him say that, because I just feel like he didn't do it any justice, so I have to say it for him. He is the executive producer and creator for a hit TV series called The Godfather of Harlem. That's how you do it, Markuann. I got you.
Oh, okay. Got you.
I had to do it for you. Anywho, for those of you who also don't know Markuann, he's been interviewed by many different platforms. We're talking like Fox Soul, Sway Universe, Pix 11, ABC, more, and now today with me on the Hugh Capital podcast. Now, I'm pretty sure most of you have heard of The Godfather of Harlem, but if you don't know what it is, I'll just give you a little background on the show. So, The Godfather of Harlem is an American crime drama television series starring Forest Whitaker as the 1960s New York City gangster Ellsworth Bumpy Johnson. Now, you've probably heard of Bumpy in The American Gangster, starring Denzel Washington, where Bumpy was a close associate to Frank Lucas, also played by Denzel, and basically took over after Lucas passed. So, that's that. What you also don't know is this show is actually based off of Marquand's Godmother's story. And I think that's really cool because it makes it even more of a personal project. It's not just about someone hearing about a story from a textbook, from an article, and just saying, hey, I want to create something out of this. This is about someone who can actually connect to one of the people who is a part of this story. And I think that's what makes this even more touching. Do you disagree, Markuann?
No, I totally agree. I mean, the connection has been there for me. It's been a passion for me, for the last 18 years.
And just to put it in perspective, right? Like, for those of you who are familiar with the show, you know that it's only been on for a couple of years. But what you just heard Markuann say is he's been kind of working on this story for the past 18. And I think that oftentimes a lot of us, we have an idea for something and we never really know when it's the right time to pursue that thing, put it out there, get it seen, pitch it, whatever the case may be. And the reality is, when it's your time, you'll know, but don't just feel like it's never going to be your time, because it will be. Because once again, Markuann has been having this itch for it for 18 years, and it came to life a couple of years ago. So you never know when it's your turn. And Markuann will be basically answering more questions to give you all insight into what that trajectory actually looked like. But I'll just also start by giving you all some insight into what his background actually is, because he has not been working on The Godfather of Harlem only for all these years of his life, right? He's done other things too, I promise. Are y'all ready? I can't hear y'all, but I'll assume y'all are ready. So first things first, he attended Morgan State. Shout outs to the HBCUs, where he received his bachelor's in broadcasting and communications.
HBCU.
Hey, I hear it. Now I'm a little jealous. I kind of wanted to go to Howard, but it never really happened. But it's all right though. I love y'all, HBCU fam. Y'all lit. Really cool fun fact on top of that. He actually played a love interest in a show. If you don't know what it is, it's VH1's Let's Talk About Pet. So if you want to be nosy and extra, listen, maybe start Googling, that show and see if he pops up. That might be a little fun activity for you all. I thought that was really cute. On top of that, he also worked in marketing and content across various companies, but most importantly, BET, Black Entertainment TV. He's also made appearances across numerous shows and movies. This includes the Dave Chappelle Show. This includes Juice, Poetic Justice, Cold Blue, and there's more. Now, we know that he has created, and he also serves as an actor and an executive producer for The Godfather of Harlem. But did you all also know that he has a couple of awards for this show too? So let me walk out through that also. So we're talking about two NAACP awards for Outstanding Drama Series for both 2020 and 2022. We're also talking an Emmy, for Outstanding Main Title Design in 2020. And we're also talking Peachtree International Film Festival, where he won an award for Generational Barrier Breaker. In other words, there are so many accolades. I have to hold my breath and give you all the spiel on Markuann. But once again, as you all know, I have to brag about my guests. They do amazing things. And I feel like I tell the story a little better because, they're humble. They don't want to show off too much. But if there's one thing I'm going to do, I'm going to show off for them. So you all heard from me enough. We're going to get straight into it. Markuann, are you ready to answer some questions? We're going to have a conversation tonight.
Absolutely. Let's get to it.
Let's do it. So something that I'm curious about is, so I'm from the Bronx, by the way. So I'm from New York City. We're here. And I'm interested in understanding what made you feel like as a inner city New York City cat, like you were someone who should go to college and try to build a career in media. Like, why did you know that was your pathway?
Well, at first, to be honest with you, Juju, it wasn't my pathway. I grew up in a place called Far Rockaway, Queens. I was raised on 128th and St. Nicholas. Then my mom's and then moved out to Queens. And if you know about anything about Far Rockaway, that's the mud. That's the last stop on the A train. Like if you fall asleep, we call it the round robin. You got to take the train all the way back to the Bronx, So we used to hop on the Iron Horse and go out to Far Rockaway. And anybody that's on your platform that knows about Far Rockaway, you're surrounded by nothing but housing projects, right? So we live in a little inlet, one way in, one way out. And they don't even consider themselves Queens. They consider themselves just the sixth borough or a place that just exists that everybody forgot about. And growing up out there, I was subjected to a lot of violence, gunshots, a lot of my friends I grew up with passing away. A friend of mine's actually that I just passed away yesterday. He jumped from a roof. It's just crazy out there. The environment and the feeling of not being able to get out of somewhere, RIP to Stack Bundles and Chinch Drugs is real crazy. So how I used to drown out all the white noise was I would lock myself in my room and just watch movies. I would watch movies like Rebel Without a Cause, Raging Bull, Urban Cowboy, On the Waterfront. One of my favorite movies is Once Upon a Time in America by Sergio Leone. And watching these movies, I was able to escape the reality that was really outside my door. I was able to play make-believe, and I started knowing who these directors and producers were, whether it be Martin Scorsese, whether it be Francis Coppola, whether it's Sergio Leone, whether it's Guy Ritchie. These are the things that I used to love. And then, my brother was into music. My older brother, he's an artist by the name of Father MC. He was signed to Uptown Records. And he used to work at Kentucky Fried Chicken. And they used to call him the Flower Man. So every time he used to come outside with flour and smoking cigarettes, he'd be rhyming. And he would tell people every day that I'm going to get a rap deal. I'm going to get a rap deal. And I remember hopping on the train, after he used to come home from work, he'd throw on his silk shirt and his ballies and his silk pants. And we would hop on the train and go to the new music seminar in the city or try to get a ticket to go to these different events where he can promote his music. And before you knew it, you looked up on the TV, he had got a deal with Ralph McDaniels, Video Music Box, and you heard the song Treat Them Like They Want to Be Treated. And that was like my first inspiration, him showing me that it can be done, that you don't have to be subjected to where you were born at or your environment. So he took me on the road. So I went on the road, but for me to be on the road, he had to open up a budget to justify why he had me on the road with the record label, and I became what's known as a roadie. And on the roadie is the first one off the bus, the last one on. Like I was subjected to carrying the turntables, coffins, these big turntables that cases that held these turntables called 1200s. I used to take them off the bus, or just breaking down the equipment or whatever was on stage. But during my touring, I met another roadie that people would know as Tupac Shakur, and myself and Tupac became very good friends. Tupac was a roadie for Digital Underground, and Tretch was a roadie for Latifah. So, being on the road, being on that tour bus, looking out that window and seeing the countryside just pass you by, and being able to see different cultures, experience different things in life, just showed me that there was a way out of my community or where I was.
I actually love that so much. One of the key themes of this podcast is community, right? And the reason why I include that as a theme for the podcast is because I've always felt like if it wasn't for the community that I was a part of, I wouldn't be where I am today. Like, I feel like while many people have a story where those around them kept telling them, no, you can't be this, no, you can't be that, that wasn't my experience. Every neighborhood I've moved to that has embraced me has always reminded me, like, hey, you're a star. I don't know what it's going to be, but you're it. And I've always like kept that with me because it's like, well, if everybody else around me is one, championing me, two, they're putting me in positions to win, then yeah, that's a great community to be a part of. Like, I'm only winning because of them. And I think for you, it's very similar where you realize, all right, yeah, I grew up in a certain situation, but that doesn't have to be my situation forever. And I have peers around me who are, trying to go after certain things. I got a friend who won, a family member who won, and they're not trying to win alone. They're trying to like make me win too. So they brought me on the road. They opened a budget for me. They gave me an opportunity. And the good thing is that was the first opportunity. Then there was more for you later on. So
Yeah,
now my question, go ahead.
absolutely, Juju, because I didn't come up a squeaky clean life. I was in
Mhm.
juvenile facilities. I mean, I was in Spofford, I was in Lincoln Hall. And I remember being in Lincoln Hall and I used to read this book. I became an avid book reader. I read this book called Man, Child, and the Promised Land by Claude Brown.
Mm.
And reading that book, that allowed me to get a furlough and come home and see my moms or see my family. So my brother didn't want me to get caught up in the streets. So there was an opportunity. He was like, I'm gonna bring you on the road so I could show you a different life. And doing that, I remember my first tour was with Candyman, Troop, High Five, Second to None, DJ Quick, Salt and Pepper, EPMD, and I was able to understand what West Coast music was, what music was in the Midwest, what music was in the South. And big shout out to my brother giving me that opportunity to grow, because the streets of Far Rockaway in the summertime and the wintertime was no place for a young black man or a young black woman. It was nothing but poverty and disparity. But I had fun as well. But I didn't. The sadness outweighed the happiness in my life. So I was able to change and be able to learn different things.
I love that. And I want to be clear about that also. Like, when did this opportunity unfold? Was it when you were in high school or when you were in college or after?
No, this happened actually when I was in high school.
Nice. That's
I
fire.
actually I was on a vacation for a little while, and I came back off my vacation, and my brother snatched me up.
That's so
he, s-
lit.
he said, "Let's go. We got to get you up out of here." And I appreciate that to this day. That's why I tell people, don't let your circumstance depict who you are as a
Yeah.
person. There's a lot of people with mental illness
Yep.
in inner city communities. Like, for example, a friend of mine's, I just said earlier, he just gave up on life yesterday and killed himself. So these are things that people deal with on the regular. You just have to be strong and be able to say that you got to take those no's and turn them to yes. And I had 1,000 no's before I got one yes.
But the good thing is you got that yes and you flew with it. It didn't stop there. You made sure you kept getting those yeses. And I love that for you. And what I'm also curious about, right, is that you got this role to be on the road. You're a roadie, right? You're meeting all these cool artists, people who are in the industry, etc. Cool. My question to you now is what's next after that, right? Because you did decide that you were going to go to college. You did that. And then afterwards, you started working at BET. When did you realize, like, okay, doing marketing, doing content, like that's the route that I want to go in?
Well, like I said earlier, I was always a creator of
Mm-hmm.
some sort. Creating to me it was like oxygen in my lungs. That's what kept me going.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if I'm not creating, I'd rather be dead.
Mm.
And to be able to just to make people smile, make people laugh, make people cry, that was something that uh, I gravitated to. My mother
Mm-hmm.
put me in summer stock. But my brother, on his third album, he fired me. He let me go. And
Wait, what?
it
Why?
wasn't a firing because he wanted to fire me. It was
Yeah.
the fact that your little bro, you met so many people on the road. You've established who you are as a person. It's time for you to leave the nest and fly
Yep.
because I'm not going to be with Uptown MCA anymore. And I'm looking to get another position. So I can't hold your hand but for so long. He taught me how to fish, right? So I was able to fish and be able to cook my own fish and clean my own fish and make my own meal and season it the way that I needed to be seasoned.
Mm-hmm.
So I came back home. I was always play basketball. I love playing basketball. I went away to a junior college, which was Sullivan County Community College of State, and I was redshirting up there. And the JUCO was nice, but I was getting in trouble up there, and I had to say, you know what, I'm getting back to my old ways.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ended up going to Morgan State University in Baltimore, Maryland.
I love that. Oh, by the way, so I think Sullivan is a SUNY school, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
it's a junior college, it's JUCO.
yeah. So I went to Albany, so that's also
Okay.
SUNY Bam. Ow.
Yeah,
Hello.
yeah. I used to make my way up to Albany.
You get listen. First of all, if you went to Albany, you would have really had a great time. So maybe
Yeah,
it's good that you went to Morgan though, because
yeah,
Albany would have been some mayhem. But
yeah.
what I'm also curious about is so something that I want to make very clear to people who are listening is just kind of like the thought process that people have when it comes to making a decision for what they should do with the next step of their careers, right? So something that I used to do with myself when I was really thinking through, okay, Jerlisa, like here's what I want to be and why. I
Okay.
would write down my interests and I would write down things that I'm good at and
Yep.
things that I wanted to be good at. And I would look at all those things and either say the career that I want to pursue makes sense based off of what I have on this paper, or it no longer makes sense because of what I have on this paper, and maybe I should be doing something else. So you mentioned that you were always a creative. What skills did you have? And then you basically said, with these skills, I'm going to do blank next. What were those for you?
Um, I could say this, right? There was never a next because I never
Mhm.
believed in a plan B. I've always believed in a plan A. So
Mm,
I believed if you had a plan B, you were planning your plan A to fail. So
okay.
it wasn't about what's next. It was always this is what I want to do and this is what I'm going to do. I'm stubborn like that. I'm a Scorpio.
I heard
And
that.
that's just that's my outlook in life. A lot of people they give up. They say if this doesn't happen for me today or tomorrow, I'm not doing it. See, a lot of people want microwave careers. I have a career, I believe, that was like steam cooked like gumbo and
Mm,
slowly burned and braised and rotisserie cooked. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't something that happened overnight. I tell people all the time, don't look at my glory, listen to my story.
mm.
Don't look what I've been through. Don't look at my breakthrough. Look what I've been through. You know what I'm saying? So these are the things that I always live my life with because if you just get up thinking that okay, if this doesn't work and this doesn't work and this doesn't work, I'm going to do this, then you never get to master one
Yeah,
thing. You know what I'm saying? You never get to master that. People give up too much so fast because it's just not happening when they want it to happen. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen when it's going to happen.
I like that. I'm not gonna lie, it's so funny how when you mentioned that, the first thing I was thinking was with you being around so many musicians and artists, were you writing rhymes? Because those were bars. Like that was
Uh,
really solid.
I was actually signed. This is crazy. I was actually signed to Whitney Houston's label.
No way. Oh my God.
She
I
had
didn't
a
know
label. Now, Whitney had a label called A Better Place Records
that. Uh-huh.
through Nippy Inc. And Nippy was her nickname. Robin Crawford was running the label at the time.
Mm,
And at the time, she had a label deal with Elektra Records with Sylvia Rowan and Merlin Bob. And
mm,
this was the time that the Wait and the Exhale soundtrack came out. And they had a group called Sunday. They had another female female vocalist by the name of Shauna.
Mhm.
and myself and a few other acts, and I never came out because the label, something happened with the label and politics behind it. But yeah, I've always been in that creative space.
Honestly, listen, when's your book coming out?
That's what I'm trying to work on right now. I'm trying to
Listen,
get
come
me a
on.
good
Like,
publishing company that will believe in trying to make this happen for me.
there's no reason why your story is not in the form of a book. So when that does happen, please let me know because we need to bring you back here so that you can let them
I'm
know
trying to
like
work
that
on
book is
that
coming.
right now.
All right,
If
good,
anybody
good.
from Simon and Schuster's on your line or Penguin or Random House, I have a story to tell. Like Biggie
Listen,
said, I have a story to tell.
I'm ready for it. I know I'll be the first person to buy that book if I could. So I'm ready for that. So I like how you walked us through that journey, and I'm still in shock that you were signed to Whitney's label. That's so fire. Now I want to get a little bit more insight into your experience now on the corporate side, right? The corporate creative. So you started working at BET. You were doing marketing and content there. Walk us through what were you responsible for as a marketing professional, and what was your experience even like at BET? Because for most of us, like we just know BET as the station. We're not thinking about BET as a place that you work.
I wasn't doing marketing. I was a media management.
Media management.
I was doing media management, meaning the fact that I was responsible for what videos came in rotation on 106 and Park, whether it's heavy rotation, medium rotation, or light rotation. I was digitizing videos, sending it down to DC. Digitizing means that you are actually putting the videos in the digitizing form, actually like putting it in a like a web computer based library, so you can put the videos down and send them down to DC. It was nothing that I liked, didn't love it. Um, BT, the journey there wasn't a very exciting or happy journey for me, because I wasn't the type of individual that was just happy to be going to the BT Awards or,
Yeah.
I'm going to the hip hop awards. Some people were happy with that. I saw that where I was working with, there was a glass ceiling and I had to get past that glass ceiling. I was a creative, I was tired of sitting in a cubicle in the dark getting notes of what to do, what not to do, but
Mhm.
that's not me. And sneaking out during my lunch break just to go to an audition. Some people like getting up every morning and going to work, and 10 o'clock getting a smoke break, 12 o'clock they get lunch, and 5 o'clock they're ready to go home and do it all over again. That was never me. I've always was a person that wanted to control my own destiny and create it. And working there, I didn't think my talent was as appreciated as it should have been. I mean, I was working there, creating content, getting deals that weren't the best deals in the world. Not to say everybody that I met at BET were the worst people ever. I have friends that I came up in that lane together with, but it wasn't the very most exciting job I've ever had. It's nothing more exciting than waking up doing what you want to do, not what you have to do.
Honestly, first of all, once again, bar at the end of all of that. And then two, I like your transparency, right? Because I think that a lot of times for us as the audience, like you see this content, you engage with the content, and you think this is glamorous, it's gold, like, oh my God, I can't wait to be a part of it. But the reality is, everybody's working experience behind the scenes, it doesn't look the same, right? For people like yourself, you feel like you were this creative individual, you had a massive amount of ideas, and the structure of just coming in from 9 to 5 and having to sit through certain meetings and have this very routine schedule, it wasn't something that was championing you to be the creative that you are. It wasn't something that was empowering you either. And you realize, okay, yeah, it sounds cool to say I work at BET, but is working at BET positioning me to be like the creative, like extraordinaire that I am supposed to
I
be?
mean, Juju, to be honest with you, I tell people all the time, you could chase your pension or chase your passion. I
Oh,
decided to chase my passion. You feel what I'm saying? Like, if you knock an opportunity's door and it doesn't open for you, go to Home Depot, buy some lumber, build your own door, create your own gateway, your own path. Because everybody wants success. I bet you're 9,000 plus people. Everybody wants success, but are you willing to eat tuna fish sandwiches? Are you willing to eat ramen noodles? Are you willing to sleep on somebody's floor because you can't afford a hotel? Are you willing to say, hey, Juju, you got to hook up with buddy passes because I got a meeting at Netflix on Monday and I got to get out because I can't afford a regular airline ticket to get out to this meeting I have to make on Monday morning, you know. So
Yeah.
when you're ready to sacrifice yourself and don't look for the glory and understand that you gotta, pull your legs up and get in the
Yep.
mud, pull your pants legs up and get in the
Yep.
mud. Are you willing to do that? A lot of people aren't willing to
Right.
do that.
But you were,
But
and
you have success.
but
No,
you.
absolutely, because
Mhm.
like I said, I didn't believe in a plan B.
Yes.
And that may not be for everybody. Some people like to have the safe route. They want to wake up and know that they have a net under them. If
Hmm.
they're walking on that tightrope, they know they're not going to hit the ground.
Yeah.
It works better for me knowing that I don't have a tightrope. If I hit the ground, I'm going to hit the ground for real, and that makes me work harder. It makes me just go out there and do the best as I can at whatever I'm trying to accomplish.
I love that. And the good thing is you got there, right? So for example, you were at BET, but you made that comment about not just staying in the office for the full 9 to 5. If I had an opportunity to go in and squeeze in an audition, that's what I'm going to do. So my
Well,
question to
absolutely.
you now is, what was that experience like being able to transition into the acting world? Like, how did that work out for you?
I mean, I've like I said before, I've always been acting. That's one of the things that
Hmm.
kept me going, and my mom's kept me into the arts. Being in Juice, Tupac looked out for me and gave me opportunity to be, a featured extra in Juice, and being in Poetic Justice the same way. I just knew that I didn't want to be regular. We used to sit
Yeah.
down and have these conversations, myself and Pac, and just two brown boys that was trying to just find themselves in life.
Hmm.
Pac wanted to see himself on the big screen. He wanted to hear himself on the radio. I wanted the same thing too. My thing was trying to leave my fingerprints in time.
Yes.
And being the success of the show, I think I've been able to leave some fingerprints out there in time, and that's
Hmm.
the thing that I want to do, because tomorrow is not promised to you. There's no bunk beds in the graveyard. I said that in many interviews, meaning the fact that if the Grim Reaper knocks on your door, Juju, tonight, and it says he's ready for you, don't call me, because I'm gonna be like, he wasn't ready for me, he was ready for you.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So, you better take advantage of every minute, every second, every hour that you have while you have oxygen in your lungs, and try to be great.
I love that. And I guess my question to you would be like, what traits are necessary to be this kind of person? Like, is it discipline? Is it courage? Is it being creative? Like, what do I need to identify in myself to know like I am that person who can make that leap?
Juju is simple. It's you want to be better. You want better. When you want better, you're gonna do better. If you don't
Yeah.
want better, you're not gonna do better.
Period.
Nothing's gonna come to you.
Yeah.
If you want that nice car, work hard to get that nice car. Work out hard to get that nice house. You can't take shortcuts.
No, you can't.
Shortcuts are not gratifying. A lot of people take shortcuts, they end up in the penitentiary, or they end up dead. I went down that path, and I knew that there was no shortcut. This is what I wanted to do, and this is where I wanted to go. And it feels great to know that I can, like I said, I can wake up just saying, "Hey, I want to create." Not
Yep.
that Sunday morning, like, God damn, I got to go to work Monday morning, and you
Mhm.
start hating your life, and your life starts to become a routine. The biggest scam the government ever told you, that you got to wait till 67 years old to retire and
Mhm.
enjoy life. Why can't you enjoy life right now?
Yeah.
You're gonna wait till you're 67 to start traveling, and then all of a sudden, 4 years later, you just die, or something might happen to you
Mhm.
because you worked all this time to make somebody else rich. That was never me.
That's not it. And I'm glad that you knew that for yourself. So now we're gonna really get into it, right? And you've been on this journey from roadie to getting signed by Whitney Houston's label to going to Morgan State and Sullivan Community College to working at BET, doing media management, acting. Now this creation, this art that you've been working on for so long, you realize it's time. It's time. So now I want to know from you, one, when did you know it was time to go full on with the Godfather of Harlem? And how did you even pitch this show? What does that process look like?
Well, it started off like this. I've been knew it was time because it was 18 years. So it was
Yep.
like, I've been had this project close to heart for a minute. And it started off like this: RIP to my godmother, Margaret Johnson, who passed away in December of 2016, who transitioned. I used to go up to Lenox Terrace, and if your audience knows that, or happens to heard of Lenox Terrace, Lenox Terrace is a community in Harlem that it was very pristine. Like actors lived there, athletes lived there, musicians lived there, and Margaret lived there. I used to go up there every Sunday. I used to sit in her living room. I used to look forward to it, and she would tell me these magical stories about Harlem in the '60s. How she used to walk out of a tenement building and smell fresh laundry hanging out of a window, or walk past 125th Street, look up, see James Brown's name in the marquee, or walk past Sugar Ray Robinson's barbershop. She may see Sugar Ray's pink Cadillac, or look inside. Sam Cooke may be waiting to get a haircut. Jackie Wilson might be coming out of a transistor radio. Nat and Cole might be getting a haircut. All these wonderful, magical things she used to tell me about Harlem. But Harlem was one of those tumultuous times in the '60s. You know, African Americans were migrating up north, trying to escape Bull Connor's water hoses and his dogs, only to experience racism even more up north than it was in the South, where, for example, someone trying to purchase something like this, a hat,
Yep.
at a place in Harlem, they might tell you to put on a shower cap on your head because they didn't want the hat to touch your black scalp. Or an African American family, a father who worked all week says, you know what, I want to treat my family to a steak dinner. And he goes to the restaurant and they say, we don't serve your kind and you can't eat with the rest of the patrons, but you can take something to go, right? That's what Harlem was back then.
Yeah.
But you know, she also told me about her grandfather. His name was Ellsworth Raymond Johnson. The streets know him as Bumpy. And he didn't come up to New York City to become a gangster. He actually came up to New York to become an attorney like Malcolm X. But when the bursar said Ellsworth Raymond Johnson and they saw he was attached to a person of color, they said, we don't give financial aid to people of your kind. So you know what? He took the cards that life dealt him and he played it the best way he could. He was the first African American gangster that sat down with Lucky Luciano, Frank Costello, Bugsy Siegel, Meyer Lansky. You know, he sat down with the real La Cosa Nostra, like it's called, our thing. These guys were the roots of the mafia to this day. And you know, he was the conduit for them to have access to Central and West Harlem. Even the Alcatraz, the warden said he had the highest IQ that he ever saw for a person of color. You know, he wasn't just a gangster. Once again, he was a philanthropist. He had self-published poetry. He read Shakespeare. He read Nietzsche. Even rumors that he beat Bobby Fischer in chess. So I made this promise to Margaret over 20 something years ago that I would go out there and get the real story of who her father / grandfather was. And yeah, man, it was a journey. It was something that, you know, she didn't want the hoodlum Bumpy Johnson. She didn't want the Cotton Club Bumpy Johnson or the American Gangster Bumpy Johnson, because Bumpy Johnson didn't die in an electronics store in front of a bunch of TVs talking about Pepsi was the best product. He actually died in my character's arms of congestive heart failure after eating chicken and waffles at Wells. So the promise was made, and it was a journey, man. It was a journey. It was heavy lifting to try to get this TV series done.
It's so funny how I'm so interested in knowing like what the process looks like for you to pitch this, but even just kind of hearing the story and how it came about from like your mouth, I feel like if I was an executive in that studio, listen, forget running through a budget or anything. Like I'm sold. Like I feel like just listening to you explain that story and just hearing your connection to your godmother and her connection to Bumpy and the truth of the story versus like what we see online, right? I think is like really empowering. So shout outs to you to being able to tell the story in a way where people know it's something that they need to listen to, that they need to be more aware of. So I really
Yeah, I mean, like I was in a deep funk because after I was working at BET, I got let go.
Yeah.
I got let go because Viacom did the merger with BET
Yep.
2000, but they really did the big merger in 2016 where they were like, okay, we're finally going to come through BET's doors and take control.
Yeah.
So when you started looking over, there was no BET finances, Viacom finance, no more BET HR. It was Viacom HR. And I remember somebody I thought was a friend of mine, my supervisor, we was oh so close for the last 16 years, called me into a supposedly team meeting, and it was just him, the HR person, and the his boss. And they told me, "We know you've been here for 16 years, but sorry, we don't need you anymore." And they gave me $4,000 in severance for being there 16 years, for 16 years. And I didn't know what to do.
Wow.
I had to really figure it out. And I knew I had this story close to heart that I had to go out there and get it done. I remember coming home and looking at the city through my window. I'm way up. I live like on the 23rd floor, and just looking outside, like what's next? What am I going to
Yeah.
do? Like, I'm in this deep, 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 deep funk. And I got
Yeah.
to make this happen.
So let's talk about that, right? To make it happen, you had to pitch this show. So for
Yeah.
people who are interested in kind of pursuing the same journey, what does it look like to be in a room with whoever to even pitch this? Like, who was in the room? How did you even get the opportunity to pitch this show? Like, walk us through that experience.
Well, I'll tell you this to your audience: nobody cares about your ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Always remember that. The only thing they care about is the ROI. What is the return on investment? Let me say it clearly: ROI. I'm giving you free game right now. Return on investment. There's a Martin Luther King Boulevard in every hood. There's a Malcolm X Boulevard in every hood. There's a drug dealer that sold drugs in every hood, every country, every community, every state. They don't care about none of that. I'm actually sitting in the room with an Academy Award winning actor, my big brother Forest Whitaker, to the right side of me, an Emmy Award winning, Emmy nominated writer who created the TV series Narcos, sitting right next to me. And I have a team. I feel like the 96 Bulls that we're gonna go in there and sell this. Doesn't happen like that. It doesn't happen like that. I'm gonna keep telling you it doesn't happen like that. So many people come to me with ideas and stories. I got this, I got that. Only thing I give a hell about is the ROI. I was about to curse on your show, but I know this is
No, you can do that. It's okay.
a Christian
Let's
show.
do that. It's not a Christian show. Listen, if you gotta curse, you can curse. It's okay.
Yeah, man. I get passionate about it because I remember after after meeting with my partner Jim Atchison, big shout out to Jim and his wife Joanne Colano, who's like my big sister. I told Jim on the phone that I had a project that I think that he would really be interested in. I got introduced to him through a friend that's like my uncle. His name is Bernard Alexander, and I never met Jim before. Jim is, he's from LA. He's Boston, LA. I told him I had a story about a gangster that I think that you need to hear about. I said, "Do you know about Bumpy Johnson?" He said, "Oh yeah, I know about Bumpy Johnson." Turned out later he really didn't know who Bumpy Johnson was, but
Not the cap.
yeah, he flew out from LA and came to visit me with his wife because they have a house out here in the city, Brownstone. And I took him up to Lenox Terrace to introduce him to Margaret. And Margaret was like, "Why the fuck you got these white people in my house?" You know what I'm saying? Margaret was she was extreme. She's very extreme. And she got to love them and like them. And we took this journey together, myself and Jim. And his wife actually managed Forest. So that wasn't, they'll say, "Oh, big," or end all say, "Oh, yeah, we got Forest." No, because Forest didn't commit to play Bumpy. Forest committed to produce it with me. And
Mm,
as an actor, you don't want to commit to anything that you may have to say, "You know what, I might commit to 4, 5, or 6 seasons and I can't do anything else but this TV
yeah.
series." It has to be a hell of a script, right? So, I remember looking through IMDb for a writer. I was getting all these spec scripts to read, and it wasn't a writer that was just clicking.
Mhm.
And then I just looked through my favorite gangster movies, and I looked at Hoodlum. I said, "Oh shit, Chris Brancato, Paul Eckstein." And I asked my partner in LA, "Do you know Chris Brancato?" He was like, "Yeah, he lives across the street from me. He comes to my house, and we
Mm,
has Italian. My wife and I make Italian meals for him all the time with him and his family." So the stars lined up like that.
mm.
So now you would think the stars lined up like that. Yeah, we got a show, right? Nah, we took it out, and 3 networks passed on us.
No.
3 networks. Apple passed on us. Netflix passed on us. Stars passed on me twice. Ari
Twice.
annual, the president of WME actually walked us back into the building at Stars to talk to Chris Albert and say, "Yo, this is a great show. You guys need to take a look at it." And I remember being in LA. I was on my last dollar. I didn't have a dime on me. I actually slept on my executive producer's garage floor because we were working there, and he went into his house, and I just spent the night there. And I'm just like this. What are we gonna do? Everybody is just turning us down.
Yeah.
Um, Ended up flying back to New York, and I got an email from my showrunner who was like, "This was a noble failure." I said, "The fuck is a noble failure? Am I King Arthur or some shit like that? Like Forrest can go do get his next Academy Award winning
Right.
movie, and you could go write the next
What about
Sherlock Holmes 2 and get fed by Robert Downey's private chef. But this has to work for me. I have
you?
nothing else." So I remember being in a deep funk, and this was like in January of 2019, and got an email about a individual that used to work at Amblin Entertainment. That's Steven Spielberg's company. His name is Michael Wright. And he was headed over to be the president of Epics, and he was looking for a new TV series. And the junior agent said, "Let me send our script over to him." So he sent the script over, and I was in New York at the time. I didn't have any money to make it back to LA. And like I said, I'm in a deep funk. I don't know how I'm going to pay my rent, and I'm laying on my mother's couch. She's like, "Baby, don't you want to try something else?" So I'm looking at her like, "Try what? Try what?" So long story short, I had turned my phone off that day because I was in a deep funk. I went to get a haircut. I came back home, and I finally turned the phone back on because they went to meet with Michael. And Forrest said to me, he said, "Markuann, why you not picking up your phone? We just sold it in the room." And I went upstairs. I was slapped the shit out of my mom. Like, and that's how it happened, man. So I want to tell people it's more than just dreaming. It's going after your dreams. Anybody could lay there and say they dream.
Right.
You can chase dreams all day. It's about going out there and executing and getting it to make it happen. So once again, don't look at the glory before you know my story. Don't look at my breakthrough. Look what I've been through, and that's 100% facts.
It absolutely is. Honestly, I told you this before the interview, and I'm gonna tell this to you again now. Your story, your energy, your perseverance is all inspiring. I feel like for anybody who's listening to this who feels like they're kind of like in a crossroads between getting that next job or really going full-fledged on that new project, or maybe they got a no recently and it's like, damn, I don't think I could turn this no into a yes. Well, the reality, y'all, is Markuann literally got rejected from like some of your favorite networks, and a couple of times at that. But at some point, it did become a yes, and not just a yes. It became a yes that got him an Emmy, NAACP award, Peachtree, and I mean, to be honest, the show's not done, so there's more awards to come.
Yeah.
So I think it's really a big deal that you were able to accomplish this. And before we even get towards like the end of the interview, something I think is very important. Look at the award. That's right. See, I was tell you, don't come here being humble, show off. I love that. So, and number 2, bam. Wait, one more, another one. Keep it coming. Boom, bam. Listen, honestly, I think I'm hearing like Oscar coming. I think I'm hearing like, I think something else might come. I think so. We're not done. But something that I do want to ask you about before we get towards the end of the interview is you mentioned about this kind of like being like this multi-hyphenate like creative or individual where Forest Whitaker, actor, producer, you, Markuann Smith, actor, producer. Can you just like walk me through like a couple of these roles and like what do these roles even entail?
Well, I even forgot to tell you this. I had to audition for my own role.
Oh, wow.
That's another hurdle that I had to go through. So, for everybody that says, "Well, you're the executive producer," nah, it was no nepotism. It was no narcissism. I had to actually go out there and audition for my own role. And that's something else that was humbling because, being the youngest executive producer that's African American, I was one of the reasons why Swiss Beats is on there. I actually bought him and introduced him to the show, and he's doing a phenomenal, amazing job. Him and Grady Spivey and Mo. Um, yeah, so I had to actually audition too for my role. And one thing was about it, the network flew down with the studio and they saw me on camera and they was like, "Yo, he looks good." And then they had to renegotiate my contract. But yeah, this was all a journey for me. It was a
Yeah.
lot of potholes. It wasn't a smooth road.
Yeah. Well, question then. So, as an executive producer, what do you have to do? Like, what does your day to day look like?
Well, in the beginning, my day to day was I'm the one that actually did the research
Hmm.
of going to the Schomburg Museum. I had help from a friend of mine by the name of Tony Gentry, and I went there and made sure when the writers' room was set up that everybody had enough information to feed their palate,
Yeah.
so quote unquote.
Hmm.
So right now it's more about my character and getting into the role. I always get stuff passed by me for executive producer decisions, whether it's a scene. I brought in Professor James Small, who's the African American historian consultant for the show. So he was there when Malcolm got assassinated, and he became Malcolm's sister's bodyguard. So a lot of the stuff was leaned on me, as far as bringing in the storylines and the interviews and things of that sort, and then getting into character, portraying my role as Junie Bird, who was one of Bumpy Johnson's closest friends.
That is a solid lineup. And one thing I do like about you, not only do you like mention like the roles of people who were involved, but you say their names. Like you want people to know that they're a part of this journey and a part of this
Well,
story.
absolutely, it's
I mean,
no I.
yes.
It was us. It was a tribe. I do take pride of being the initiator,
Hmm.
visionary to bring this, but it took a lot of heavy lifting. I didn't just do it myself. So I
Yes.
do acknowledge everybody that played a part of
Yeah.
helping me.
Oh, actually, if I can come in there really quickly too, can we actually
Come on,
highlight?
come on.
Yeah, I'm coming. Listen, I'm coming right over there where the awards are. That's where I'm coming. I want to know, like who else is on set with you, right? Like I know we have the actor, we have the producers, but like costume designers, like who else is like present on set?
Oh, I mean, everyone. I mean, from it goes from the costume designers to hair and makeup, HMU, to the first AD, the second ADs, the script supervisors, the
Mhm.
stunt coordinators, to the lighting, to our honorable fearless leader Ray Quinlan, who's our line producer. Everybody plays a part. We have a little city, when we're producing these episodes. So we're all family.
I love that. And also, I love acronyms, but people are here trying to learn. So, what does AD even mean? What is that?
Assistant director.
Nice. And what does an assistant director do?
Well, assistant director, he's basically in charge of making sure of scheduling, making
Nice.
sure that the day out of days go out. Day out of days are like our schedule as actors, where we when we'll be working, how many hours we'll be working, and when they expect us to be. They do a lot of the work, and they assist the director as far as with the with shot selections and things of that sort, if needed be. If the
Mhm.
director needs help with that, or even location and things of that sort.
Perfect. Lovely. Well, Markuann, you gave us a lot of insight today. We got to learn about who Markuann was when he was a young boy, where he grew up, your first real big job, going to college, working at BET, being an actor, a producer, pitching your show. I feel like anybody who's listening received two main things. They received an understanding of who you are, your passion, and why you are where you are. But I think they also got an understanding of, with that information about your journey, they can feel the inspiration necessary to say, all right, it's time to get serious, buckle down, and start planning what's next. Because maybe I really should not have a plan B. I need to be very serious and intentional about my plan A. So,
Yeah.
I have one final question for you, but before I ask it, for people who I'm describing who are trying to turn those no's into yeses and buckle down and get serious. Is there any last piece of advice that you have for these creatives?
If you are trying to get into any type of industry, whether it's entertainment, whether it's finance, whether it's fashion, make sure you do your homework. You know, we're talking about entertainment in my field right now. So go to Barnes and Nobles, get producing for dummies, screenwriting for dummies, acting for dummies. Don't ever let somebody put you in a position and they think that you know what you're talking about and you don't know what you're talking about, because this is a really serious industry. And it's not just about, as an actor, memorizing lines. It's about knowing your angles,
Yeah.
whether it's a 50 or a 25, how you're going to bring down your emotion or bring it up. These are things that you need to know. So learn. Don't say you want to be a boxer and go in a ring and get punched in the face and say, "Oh, I want to box no more." Like everybody wants this, energy, and it's not just about the fame. It's about hard work. I
Yeah.
put in 12 hours on a set every day. Sometimes you don't get to see your loved ones.
Yeah.
You have to get into characters that can be very emotional driven, that can drain you,
Yeah.
things of that sort. So please learn your craft.
That was phenomenal. So with that, Markuann, one final question for you. Are you ready for it?
Yes.
That question is, what does the future of entertainment look like?
Oh man, I see the future of entertainment, Juju, is being more diverse,
Yes.
uh more of young people. People are learning how to do movies on iPhones right now, where you don't need the black magics and the reds and the heliums and things of that sort. So I think entertainment is going. I mean, look, who would have thought podcasts would be where they're at right now?
Yep.
Who would be saying, "Yo, we're flying drones"? We weren't flying drones, and things of that sort a few years ago. So I think that we have, a long life of media and entertainment, even with the movies. We
Mhm.
say we have Netflix and we have Amazon, but it's nothing like going to the movies and having an experience with a bunch of people you don't know eating popcorn. It's like an experience. You know what I'm saying? So I see the land of entertainment and media going really far, technology wise and things of that sort.
That was a great answer, actually. And I'm so happy you actually included like the conversation about recording movies and content through your iPhone, the fact that technology is playing a huge role with the drones, because technology is becoming less of an industry and more of something that just needs to be integrated into every existing industry, because
Yeah,
if you're not doing so, you're gonna fall off. Like you're gonna
yeah,
be lagging. And we don't have time and space to be lagging.
not at
So
all.
I love that you highlighted that. So with that being said, Markuann, thank you so much for your time. For everybody who's listening, thank you all so much for tuning into this episode. We highlighted everything that needed to be learned during this episode, and I know you all have like your notes app in your phone, like filled with everything that Markuann had to say, especially his bars. Yeah. but, but thank you all so much.
Okay, okay,
Come on,
Juju.
man. Bar up. You get me? Listen. So thank you all so much for tuning in, and stay tuned for the next episode. It will also be great. I promise you all. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everyone.
Thank you for having me.
Bye, everyone.